The learning dome glowed softly in the evening darkness. Small Veltari children gathered around the central platform, their bodies shimmering with gentle blue and green patterns. They whispered to each other, excited for story time. Tonight was special. Tonight, Keeper Zintar would tell them the forbidden tale, the one that made even adult Veltari shiver with fear. Zintar moved slowly to the center of the dome. His ancient body carried the weight of 500 years of memory. His skin flickered with orange and red patterns, the colors of warning. The children fell silent immediately. They had never seen the Keeper use those colors before. "Tonight I will tell you about the humans," Zintar said, his voice deep and steady. The youngest children looked confused. They had heard that word before, whispered by their parents when they thought no one was listening. Human. It sounded strange, like something that should not exist. "Long ago, before any of you were born, our people lived in a different galaxy," the Keeper began. "We were part of something called the Galactic Federation. Hundreds of species lived together in peace. We shared knowledge. We helped each other. We believed the universe was a safe place for those who chose cooperation over conflict." A small child named Pip Lin raised a tentacle. "What changed, Keeper?" Zintar's eyes dimmed. "We discovered Earth." The name hung in the air like poison. Even the children who knew nothing of galactic history felt something wrong about that word. Earth. A place of nightmares. "Our exploration ship, Harmonious Dawn, found Earth during a simple survey mission," Zintar continued. "The planet looked beautiful from space. Blue oceans, green lands, white clouds. The scans showed a species that had just learned to leave their world. They had sent small machines to their moon. They had built stations in orbit. The Council was pleased. A new species to welcome into the Federation." "But something was wrong?" another child asked. "Everything was wrong," Zintar replied. "But we did not see it at first. We only saw what we wanted to see. A young species, ready to learn, ready to join civilized society. We were fools." The Keeper's tentacles trembled. The children had never seen him so disturbed. The science team studied Earth for 3 months before making contact. They watched human broadcasts. They learned human languages. They thought they understood humans. But you cannot understand humans by watching them. You can only understand humans by seeing what their world did to them. Zintar moved to the dome's display panel. Images appeared in the air above the children. A blue and green planet spinning slowly. It looked peaceful, pretty. "This is Earth," the Keeper said. "It looks safe. But Earth is what we call a death world. Do you know what that means?" The children shook their heads. "Most species evolve on gentle worlds. Worlds with calm weather. Worlds with kind suns. Worlds where life is easy and food is plenty. The Veltari homeworld was like this. We ate plants. We had no predators. We evolved intelligence because we had time to think, to create, to build. This is normal." The images changed. Now they showed Earth's surface. Massive storms, earthquakes, volcanoes, floods, lightning splitting the sky. "Earth is not normal," Zintar said quietly. "Earth tries to kill everything that lives on it. The weather changes from burning hot to freezing cold. The ground shakes and breaks. Mountains explode with fire. The oceans rise and destroy the land. And the sun, their sun, it burns them with invisible rays that damage their very cells." A child whimpered. Pip Lin moved closer to her friends. "Any species that evolves on such a world should be weak, always hiding, always afraid. But humans are not weak. They do not hide. They are not afraid. Instead, Earth made them into something the galaxy had never seen before." The images changed again. Now they showed animals. Large animals with sharp teeth. Fast animals with claws. Strong animals with crushing jaws. Bears, lions, wolves, sharks, crocodiles. Humans did not evolve alone, Zintar explained. They evolved surrounded by predators. Creatures that hunted them. Creatures that ate them. On our world, the Veltari were the smartest species. We had no enemies. But humans had thousands of enemies. Every day was a fight to survive. How did they live? A child asked, eyes wide with horror. They learned to think. They learned to work together. They learned to make tools. And most terrifying of all, they learned to hunt. The Keeper paused, letting the word sink in. Hunt. The Veltari did not hunt. They did not even have a word for it in their old language. They had to learn the concept from other species. Humans became persistence predators, Zintar continued. Do you know what that means? It means they chase their prey until it dies from exhaustion. A human will follow an animal for days, never stopping, never resting. until the animal falls down and cannot run anymore. Then the human kills it. Several children made sounds of distress. Their skin patterns turned dark blue, the color of fear. This is what Earth made them. Patient, relentless, impossible to escape. And this trait, this terrible patience, this refusal to give up, it shaped everything about them. Their culture, their technology, their way of thinking. When a human wants something, they do not stop until they have it. When a human faces a problem, they do not accept failure. They try again, and again, and again, forever if necessary. Why are you telling us this, Keeper? Piplin asked, her voice small and frightened. Because humans found us, Zintar replied. 70 years ago, the Galactic Federation made first contact with Earth. And everything changed. The old galaxy, the peaceful galaxy, had ended that day. The age of humans began. The children sat in shocked silence. Above them, the dome's display showed one final image. A human face. It looked almost normal. 2 eyes, 1 mouth, smooth skin, but there was something in those eyes, something that made the Veltari children draw back in instinctive fear. This is Captain Lisa Morgan, Zintar said. She was the first human to meet our people. She smiled. She spoke kindly. She seemed friendly, but her mind was working, always working, seeing us not as friends but as puzzles to solve, threats to evaluate, weaknesses to identify, because that is what Earth made humans to be. That is what they are. The Keeper dimmed the display. The learning dome returned to its soft glow. Tomorrow night I will tell you what happened when humans joined the Federation. I will tell you how they changed everything. But tonight you need to sleep. You need to rest, because the story gets more frightening from here. The children filed out slowly, holding each other close. They did not speak. They walked to their sleeping pods in silence, each one thinking about Earth, about predators, about creatures that never stopped hunting. Pippelin looked up at the night sky before entering her pod. Somewhere out there among the stars humans existed, creatures shaped by a death world, creatures that hunted with patience and thought, creatures that never gave up. She shivered and closed her pod door, hoping that humans would never find their new home world. But deep down she knew the truth that all Veltari children learned eventually. Humans always found everything they looked for. Always. That was what made them so terrifying. The 4th night brought rain. Soft drops pattered against the learning dome while the children gathered inside, shaking water from their bodies. They seemed less frightened now, more curious. Keeper Zintar noticed this change. Fear was fading. Understanding was growing. This was good. This was necessary. Ambassador Patricia Hayes arrived at the Federation capital station 3 months after humans joined. Zintar began. She came with a delegation of 50 humans, scientists, engineers, doctors, military advisors, diplomats, each one carefully chosen to demonstrate human capabilities. Each one the best at what they did. The images showed a massive space station orbiting a blue giant star. Ships from hundreds of worlds docked at its ports, and among them a single human vessel, smaller than most but somehow more intimidating. The Federation Council expected humans to be humble, to learn, to listen, to accept guidance from species that had been traveling the stars for thousands of years. Instead, Ambassador Hayes walked into the council chamber like she owned it, confident, direct. She handed each council member a data chip containing revolutionary medical treatments humans had developed, cures for diseases that had plagued Federation species for centuries. Zintar's skin rippled with complex patterns. The message was clear. Humans did not need our charity. They had things to offer. They were not students. They were colleagues. This shocked the council. How could such a young species have anything to teach civilizations millions of years old? But the medical data was real. The treatments worked. Within a year, humans had saved more lives than we thought possible. The Keeper moved around the platform, his ancient body moving with surprising energy. Dr. Alan Brooks led the human medical team. He was kind and patient, teaching Federation doctors human techniques. But he also learned everything he could from them. Within 6 months, he had combined human and alien medicine into something completely new, something better than either alone. This is what humans do. They take what exists and improve it. They cannot help themselves. Images showed hospitals, Veltari doctors working alongside human doctors, patients from dozens of species being treated with hybrid therapies, success rates climbing, death rates dropping. But medicine was just the beginning.
Engineer Carlos Martinez revolutionized faster-than-light travel.
Federation ships had used the same basic drive system for 10,000 years. It worked, so why change it? Carlos asked why not change it. Within 2 years, he had redesigned the entire system. New ships traveled 70% faster using half the energy. The economic impact was staggering. Piplin raised a tentacle. Why did no one else think of this? Because they did not need to, Zintar replied. Federation species were satisfied with what they had. But humans are never satisfied. Satisfaction means stopping, and humans cannot stop. They must always move forward, always improve, always compete, even if they are competing against themselves. The Keeper's tone shifted, becoming more serious. Commander Helen Drake established the Federation's first military academy. Before humans, the Federation had security forces but no real military. Why would we need one? The galaxy was peaceful. Disputes were settled through negotiation. But Commander Drake explained something we had never considered. Peace only lasts when everyone agrees to be peaceful. What happens when someone decides to stop agreeing? The children leaned forward, sensing something important. Drake trained volunteers from across the Federation. She taught them human military tactics, small unit coordination, strategic planning, asymmetric warfare, things we had never needed before. Most species found it disturbing. Why prepare for war during peacetime? But Drake had studied human history. She knew that unprepared people become victims. Prepared people become survivors. Images showed training facilities. Aliens of all shapes and sizes learning to fight, learning to protect, learning to be soldiers. The cultural impact was enormous. Humans worked constantly. They needed only 6 hours of sleep. They exercised voluntarily, deliberately damaging their muscles so they would grow stronger. They ate food that would poison most species, casually consuming substances laced with capsaicin and alcohol. They sought out dangerous activities for fun. Rock climbing, skydiving, racing vehicles at lethal speeds. They called it entertainment. A child made a confused sound. Why would they do dangerous things for fun? Because humans evolved on a death world, Zintar explained patiently. Danger is normal to them. Safety is boring. They need stimulation, need challenge, need to test themselves constantly. A human who feels too safe becomes restless, unhappy. They must push boundaries to feel alive. The Keeper paused, his skin shifting to a warm orange color. But the most surprising thing about humans was their bonding instinct. Humans do not just cooperate with other humans. They form emotional attachments to everything they spend time with. They bonded with pets, keeping animals in their homes and treating them like family. They bonded with machines, naming their ships and vehicles. They even bonded with ideas and causes, willing to die for concepts they believed in. And they bonded with us, Piplin said softly. Yes, Zintar confirmed. Commander Drake's security teams included members from a dozen species. Viltari, Krillix, Soren, Haxtel, others. All of them became fiercely loyal to Drake and to each other. She treated them not as subordinates but as family. And humans protect their family with terrifying intensity. The images changed, showing happy scenes. Humans and aliens working together, laughing together, living together. The children relaxed slightly. Maybe humans were not just monsters. Maybe they could be friends too. Then everything changed, Zintar said quietly. The Zendor came. The children's skin patterns flickered with fear. Even in their new home, far from Federation space, they had heard stories about the Zendor. The Zendor were a hive mind from beyond known space. Billions of individual creatures controlled by a collective consciousness. They did not negotiate. They did not communicate. They simply consumed. Everything organic. Everything alive. They swept through space like a plague, destroying every world they found. The images showed horror. Swarms of insect-like creatures. Planets stripped bare of life. Ships torn apart. Colonies burning. 3 Federation worlds fell before the Council could organize a response. The Federation fleet engaged the Zendor at the 4th world. 200 ships from across the Federation. The largest military force we had ever assembled. And we were losing. Zintar's voice dropped to barely a whisper. The Zendor fought with numbers. For every ship we destroyed, 10 more appeared. They rammed our vessels, boarded them, overwhelmed our crews through sheer mass. The Federation fleet was in retreat, trying to protect civilian transports and medical ships. We were going to lose. We were going to die. The children were completely silent, barely breathing. Admiral Richard Stone commanded the human contribution. 12 ships. Just 12 compared to 200 Federation vessels. But those 12 ships changed everything. When the Federation fleet retreated, the human ships advanced. They moved into the thickest part of the Zendor swarm and started fighting. Images showed human vessels surrounded by thousands of Zendor creatures. But the human ships were not running. They were attacking, ramming, firing weapons at point-blank range, fighting with a fury the Federation had never witnessed. Admiral Stone's flagship, the Valiant Dawn, was crippled. Zendor creatures boarded her. Human crew fought them hand-to-hand in the corridors. With guns, with knives, with their bare hands when the weapons ran out. They did not retreat. They did not surrender. They fought until they died or until the enemy died. This was human warfare. This was what Earth had taught them. Sintar's skin flashed with colors the children had never seen before. Pride, awe, gratitude. Admiral Stone ordered all remaining human ships to form a defensive perimeter around the Federation medical, vessels, and civilian transports. Then he broadcast a message on all frequencies in every language. He addressed the Zendor directly, though we did not think they could understand individual communication. The Keeper's voice became stronger, more powerful. Stone told them they had made a mistake. They had attacked species under human protection. They had made humans angry. And angry humans, he said, were the most dangerous force in the known universe. He gave them 60 seconds to retreat. 60 seconds to leave and never return. Did they leave? A child asked. No, Zintar said. They did not understand warnings. They did not understand mercy. They only understood consumption. So Admiral Stone showed them something else, something that made him a legend across the entire galaxy. The image above the children showed a massive explosion, a tear in space itself, a wound in reality. Stone activated a weapon humanity had built but banned themselves from ever using, a reality-warping bomb. It opened a quantum singularity that consumed everything near it. The Valiant Dawn, 3 Zendor hive ships, thousands of Zendor creatures, all gone, erased from existence. Admiral Stone and his crew died saving species they had known for only 15 years. The children's skin patterns showed deep sadness mixed with awe. The surviving Zendor fled. They never returned to Federation space. The word spread through the galaxy. Do not attack species under human protection. Do not make humans angry, because humans will sacrifice themselves to protect their friends. The next evening, the children returned to the Learning Dome. They came earlier than usual, unable to wait. Piplin and her friends sat in the front, their skin patterns flickering with nervous anticipation. Keeper Zintar was already there, waiting in the center of the platform. You came back, the Keeper said with a sad smile. Good. You need to hear the rest. You need to understand what happened. The children settled quickly. Outside, the twin moons rose over the horizon, casting silver light through the dome's transparent walls. It would have been peaceful, if not for the story about to unfold. Ambassador Threlix was chosen to lead the first contact mission to Earth. Zintar began. He was our finest diplomat. He had successfully welcomed 43 species into the Federation. He spoke 17 languages. He understood cultures we found completely alien. The Council believed if anyone could guide humans toward civilization, it was Threlix. The Keeper's voice grew heavy with regret. The delegation arrived on Earth with great ceremony. They landed at a place called the United Nations, where human governments gathered to discuss their affairs. Threlix and his team emerged from their ship wearing formal robes. They carried gifts of technology, medical devices, energy generators, communication systems, all the tools a young species needed to join the galactic community. Images appeared above the children. The Veltari delegation standing before a massive building, crowds of humans watching from behind barriers, cameras recording everything. The humans greeted them politely, very politely. Captain Lisa Morgan commanded the security team that day. She stood straight and still, her face showing no emotion. She listened as Ambassador Threlix offered membership in the Federation. She asked questions about the process. She took notes on a small electronic device. She thanked the ambassador and scheduled another meeting for the following week. That sounds good, Piplin said hopefully. Zintar's skin flashed red. That is what we thought. Ambassador Threlix returned to the ship and sent a message to the Federation Council. First contact successful, he wrote. Humans appear reasonable and cooperative. Integration should proceed smoothly. The council celebrated. Another species saved from isolation. Another culture preserved and welcomed. The keeper's tentacles coiled tightly, a sign of deep distress. But we were so wrong, so terribly wrong. We did not understand what we were seeing. We thought the humans were being polite. We thought they were considering our offer carefully. We thought we were building trust. What were they really doing? A child asked. They were preparing for war. The words fell like stones. The children's skin patterns went completely dark. Within 1 hour of our departure, every human government on Earth activated something they called emergency protocols. Military bases went on high alert. Scientists were pulled from their homes and brought to secure facilities. Engineers began working around the clock. The entire planet mobilized as if they were being invaded. But you were not invading, Piplin protested. You were helping them. We know that. You know that. But humans did not know that. Could not know that. Earth had taught them a terrible lesson. Trust nothing. Prepare for everything. Hope for peace but expect war. This is how you survive on a death world. This is how you survive when everything wants to kill you. The images changed. Secret facilities. Humans in white coats examining Veltari technology. Soldiers training with new weapons. Leaders arguing in underground bunkers. Captain Morgan was not admiring our peaceful nature, Zintar continued. She was analyzing our biology. Counting our limbs. Noting our movement speed. Observing our physical weaknesses. Every question she asked was intelligence gathering. Where did we come from? How many ships did we have? What weapons did we carry? She made it seem like curiosity, but it was tactical analysis. The keeper moved closer to the children, his voice dropping to a whisper. Human scientists took the translation device we gave them, a simple tool meant to help us communicate. They did not just use it. They took it apart. Studied every component. Within 3 days, they understood how it worked. Within a week, they had built their own versions. Better versions. Smaller, faster, more efficient. How? A child breathed. Because humans do not accept gifts. They take gifts apart to understand them. They learn the principles. Then they build something better. It is how their minds work. Give them a fish, they learn to fish. Teach them to fish, they invent industrial fishing. They cannot help themselves. They must always improve, always advance, always compete. Zintar showed more images. Human weapons. Missiles modified with Veltari energy principles. Armor using Federation shielding concepts. Ships being designed with faster-than-light capabilities. In 7 days, humans developed 17 different plans to defend Earth from alien invasion. 17 different ways to fight us if we turned hostile. They prepared orbital defense platforms. They designed biological weapons targeting Veltari physiology. They even considered using their primitive nuclear weapons, which would have poisoned their own planet just to prevent alien conquest. The children were trembling now. This was more terrifying than any story about monsters or darkness. The second meeting happened 1 week later. Ambassador Threlix arrived with detailed integration plans. The process would take 50 years, he explained. Humans would gradually adopt Federation technology and law. They would learn from older species. They would become part of our peaceful civilization. It was the same process every species followed. The path to harmony. Did they agree? Piplin asked, though she already knew the answer would be terrible. Captain Morgan, now promoted to Director Morgan, smiled at the ambassador. She thanked him for the generous offer. She said humans would consider it carefully. Then she escorted him back to his ship and watched him leave. Ambassador Threlix thought it went well. He thought humans were being thoughtful and deliberate. Zintar's eyes closed for a moment as if the memory pained him. 7 months later, a human ship appeared at the edge of Veltari space. It simply appeared without warning, without permission. Our sensors barely detected it before it sent a communication request. The duty officer nearly fainted from shock. Humans were supposed to need 50 years to develop faster-than-light travel. They did it in 7 months. The image above the children showed a human vessel. It looked strange, angular, and aggressive, nothing like the smooth, elegant ships of the Federation. Captain Jake Sullivan commanded that ship. The Frontier Spirit, they called it. A good name for humans. They have too much spirit, too much fire. Captain Sullivan's message was brief and clear. Humans appreciate the invitation to join the Galactic Federation. We accept membership with full voting rights and equal status. We look forward to working with you as partners, not as students. Equal status, a child whispered. But they were new. They knew nothing. They knew enough, Zintar replied. They had mastered faster-than-light travel. They had cracked our communication protocols. They had analyzed our technology and matched or exceeded it. They did in 7 months what takes most species 7 decades, and they made it clear that they would not accept a subordinate position. The Keeper's skin turned completely gray, the color of mourning. The Federation Council was terrified. How could such a young species advance so quickly? How could they be so aggressive, so confident? The Council met an emergency session and made a decision. They commissioned a study, a comprehensive analysis of humanity. We needed to understand what we were dealing with. We needed to know if humans were a threat or an opportunity. Zintar looked at each child in turn. The study took 2 years. What they found was worse than anyone imagined. Tomorrow, I will tell you what the researchers discovered. I will tell you the truth about human nature. But tonight, remember this. When humans say they will do something, they do it. When humans set a goal, they achieve it. When humans make demands, they have already ensured those demands will be met. This is not arrogance. This is simply how they are. Earth made them this way, and nothing will change it. The children left in silence, their minds full of images. Human ships appearing from nowhere. Human scientists reverse engineering alien technology in days. Human soldiers preparing for wars that might never come. It was too much to process. Too frightening to accept, but they would return tomorrow. They had to know the rest. They had to understand the creatures called humans, even if that understanding brought nightmares. The 5th night arrived with clear skies and bright stars. The children came to the learning dome for the last time, ready to hear the end of the story. Keeper Zintar waited for them, his skin patterns calm and peaceful. The tale had been hard to tell, but necessary. Now came the most important part. The part about hope. 15 years have passed since Admiral Stone's sacrifice, Zintar began. The galaxy today is very different from the one I knew in my youth. Humans now hold key positions in every branch of Federation government and commerce, not because they seized power, but because other species learned a simple truth. If you have a problem, give it to a human. They will solve it. The children settled in, less afraid now. They had learned that humans were complex, dangerous but loyal, violent but protective, terrifying but necessary. Engineer Carlos Martinez did not stop with faster-than-light drives. He continued working, continued improving. Today, Federation ships travel 3 times faster than they did before humans arrived. Journey times that once took months now take weeks. Trade flourished. Communication improved. Species that were isolated for centuries could now visit each other regularly, all because one human refused to accept good enough. Images showed the new generation of ships, sleek and fast, carrying goods and people across the galaxy in ways that seemed impossible just decades earlier. Dr. Nina Patel focused on extending lifespans. Federation medicine could already treat most diseases, but aging was still inevitable. Nina asked why. Why must we age?
Why must we die?
Other species accepted mortality as natural. Nina saw it as a problem to solve. The Keeper's skin shifted to warm colors. She developed treatments that extended healthy lifespans by decades for most species. Veltari, who would have died at 300 years, now lived to 400. Krillix warriors remained strong past their traditional retirement age. Even humans themselves benefit, living to 150 or 200 years. Death still comes eventually, but it comes later and with less suffering. Piplin spoke up. Humans want to live longer? I thought they loved danger. They do love danger, Zintar confirmed. But they also love life. They want more time to experience things, more time to learn, more time to be with their families. This is not a contradiction. This is just human nature. They embrace risk while fighting death. They seek danger while extending life. They contain multitudes. The images changed to show universities and libraries, massive structures filled with knowledge from thousands of worlds. Philosopher Gregory Walsh helped modernize Federation law. The old laws were ancient, based on traditions that made sense thousands of years ago but not anymore. Walsh studied law from every species and combined them into something new, something that balanced traditional values with practical needs. Many species resisted at first, but Walsh was patient, he explained. He negotiated. He compromised. Very human skills learned from centuries of human politics. Zintar moved closer to the children. But humans also brought their darker gifts, Commander Jennifer Cross trained the Federation's first special operations units, small teams designed to handle threats quietly, before they could grow into wars. These units did things that peaceful species found disturbing: infiltration, sabotage, targeted elimination of threats. But Cross taught an important lesson. Sometimes small violence prevents large violence. Sometimes removing one dangerous person saves 1,000,000 innocent lives. The children shifted uncomfortably. This was a hard concept to understand. Strategist William Hayes designed the defense networks that now protect Federation space. Sensor arrays that watch for threats. Response fleets that can deploy within hours. Communication systems that coordinate thousands of ships. Before Hayes, the Federation's defenses were scattered and weak. Now they are unified and strong. Pirates think twice before attacking Federation ships. Hostile species stay in their own territories, because everyone knows that attacking the Federation means fighting humans. Images showed peaceful trade routes, safe colonies, prosperous worlds. Intelligence officer Samantha Cole built information networks that identify threats before they develop. She taught other species how to gather intelligence, how to analyze patterns, how to predict problems. Her systems prevented 17 potential conflicts in the last 5 years alone, wars that never happened because someone noticed the warning signs early enough. Zintar's voice grew warmer, but humans brought more than just practical skills. They brought culture. Human music spread across the galaxy. Federation species discovered jazz and rock and symphony orchestras. Human stories became popular entertainment. Adventure tales, love stories, comedies and tragedies. Human food fascinated everyone, with restaurants serving Earth cuisine on hundreds of worlds. The children perked up. This sounded nice. Humans brought sports. Competition for fun rather than survival. Football and basketball and baseball. Other species started creating their own sports inspired by the human love of games. Humans brought art, painting and sculpture and dance. They taught that beauty was not just pleasing to look at, but important for the soul. The keeper paused, his skin flickering with complex emotions. Most importantly, humans brought something the Federation did not know it was missing: hope. Before humans, the Federation maintained the status quo. Things were good, so why change them? Problems existed, but we learned to live with them. Progress was slow and careful. The future looked much like the present, which looked much like the past. What changed? A child asked. Humans changed everything, Zintar said simply. Humans do not accept the status quo. They believe the future should be better than the present. They believe problems exist to be solved. They believe progress should be fast and bold. Their optimism was infectious. Other species started thinking like humans, started believing that tomorrow could be better than today, started trying to improve things instead of just maintaining them. Images showed thriving worlds, happy people of dozens of species, children playing together, families mixing, cultures blending. The galaxy became safer because humans made strength normal. Before humans, the Federation relied on diplomacy alone. We believed everyone could be reasoned with. Humans taught us that some threats cannot be negotiated with. Some enemies only understand force. By becoming strong, by being willing to fight, we became less attractive targets. Peace through strength, the humans call it. Zintar looked at each child carefully. But here's the most important thing I can tell you. Humans achieved all this not through domination, but through friendship. They did not conquer the Federation. They joined it. They did not impose their will. They offered their help. They did not demand loyalty. They earned it by being loyal themselves. The Keeper's voice grew soft and gentle. Today, every peaceful Federation world has human protection teams nearby. Right now, as I speak to you, Captain Linda Foster and her crew orbit our new homeworld in their ship, the Steady Guardian. They watch over us. If danger ever comes to this world, humans will be here within minutes, and they will bring the full power of human determination to protect us. Piplin felt tears forming, not from fear this time, but from gratitude. Are humans really that committed to protecting us? She asked. Yes, Zintar said firmly, because that is what humans do. They bond with their friends and protect them absolutely. We are their friends now. We are part of their extended family, and humans will die before they let harm come to their family. This is not a promise. This is simply their nature. The Keeper straightened up, his ancient body somehow looking younger. So yes, humans are terrifying. They are apex predators shaped by a death world. They are relentless and competitive and violent and unpredictable. They refuse to accept limitations. They solve problems by overwhelming them with effort. They form bonds that transcend logic and will sacrifice themselves for those they care about. The children sat quietly, understanding finally settling in. But humans are also the reason we can sleep safely at night. They are the reason the Federation thrives. They are the reason peaceful species can remain peaceful, because somewhere out there on ships and stations and colonies, humans stand watch, and nothing gets past a human on watch. Nothing. Zintar raised his tentacles in the traditional gesture of blessing. So sleep well, young ones. Dream peaceful dreams. The humans are watching over us. They chose to be our friends instead of our conquerors. They chose to protect instead of dominate. They chose to build instead of destroy. We are blessed to live in the age of humans. We are lucky they exist. The children rose slowly, their minds full of the complete story now. Humans were no longer just monsters in a scary tale. They were real beings with complexity and depth. Dangerous, yes, but dangerous for good reasons. Violent, yes, but violent in defense of others. Terrifying, yes, but terrifying to the right targets. Piplin walked home under the stars looking up at the night sky. Somewhere up there, Captain Foster and her crew were watching. Humans were watching. And that thought, which had been so frightening 5 nights ago, now felt comforting. Safe. Right. She entered her sleeping pod and closed her eyes. For the first time since the stories began, she did not have nightmares. Instead, she dreamed of a human she had never met, standing guard in the darkness, keeping monsters away, keeping her safe. The third night arrived with dark clouds covering the moons. The learning dome felt colder than usual, though the temperature had not changed. Fear did that, Keeper Zintar knew. Fear made everything seem darker and colder. The children gathered again, unable to stay away despite their terror. The Federation Council hired Dr. Velmai to lead the human study. Zintar began without greeting or ceremony. She was the galaxy's finest xenopsychologist. She had studied hundreds of species and understood the patterns of sapient evolution. She took a team of 20 researchers and went to Earth. They stayed for 2 years living among humans, watching them, learning everything about their history and culture. The Keeper's voice was flat, emotionless. It made the story more frightening somehow. Dr. Velmai's report arrived on a cold morning. The council gathered to hear her findings. She stood before them, her skin patterns completely white. Do you know what white means for a Veltari? The children shook their heads. It means shock so deep that all other emotions shut down. She had seen something that broke her understanding of how the universe worked. When she spoke, her voice shook. The images appeared. Again, Earth, animals, humans, cities, weapons, books, art, war, peace, everything, mixed together in a chaotic swirl. Dr. Velmai explained that humans were the only known sapient species to evolve alongside megafauna predators. Most intelligent species evolved either as the dominant predator or as prey that became too smart to catch. But humans were neither. They were medium-sized primates that should have been prey, should have been extinct. Zintar moved slowly around the platform. Lions hunted them, tigers stalked them, bears crushed them, wolves chased them in packs, crocodiles dragged them underwater, sharks ate them in the oceans, snakes poisoned them, spiders bit them, even tiny insects killed them with diseases. Everything on Earth wanted humans dead. Everything. Piplin wrapped her tentacles around herself. The other children moved closer together. But humans did not die. They learned to make fire, which scared the predators away. They learned to make spears which could kill from a distance. They learned to work in groups, using cooperation to bring down animals 10 times their size. They learned to trap, to ambush, to plan. They turned from prey into predators themselves. And then they hunted everything that had once hunted them. The Keeper's skin flashed red and orange. Lions. Humans hunted them until they were rare. Tigers, nearly extinct. Bears, pushed to small territories. Wolves, domesticated into pets. Humans did not just survive, they won. They conquered their entire planet. Every predator, every threat, everything that made them afraid, they destroyed or controlled. That is horrible, a child whispered. That is survival, Zintar replied. That is what you must do when your world tries to kill you every single day. You become better at killing than anything else. But here's what Dr. Velmai found most disturbing. Humans did not stop with the predators. They turned their hunting instinct inward. The children looked confused. Humans hunt knowledge. They hunt solutions. They hunt understanding. With the same patience and determination their ancestors used to chase prey across grasslands, humans chase answers to questions. When faced with a problem, they do not give up. They cannot give up. Their brains will not let them rest until the problem is solved. Images showed human scientists working through the night, engineers testing failed designs hundreds of times, explorers dying in frozen wastelands or burning deserts to reach their goals. Dr. Velmi found journals from human explorers. One man tried 37 times to reach Earth's South Pole. He failed 36 times. People died, ships sank, equipment broke. But he tried again, and again, until he succeeded. This was normal for humans. This was expected. Failure just meant trying harder next time. Sintar's voice grew quieter, more ominous. The report explained human warfare. This was the section that made several council members physically ill. Humans have fought thousands of wars. They developed warfare into a science. They studied it, practiced it, perfected it. They created weapons that could kill one person or destroy entire cities. They invented tactics and strategies in military academies to teach other humans how to fight better. The images changed to battles, soldiers, explosions, devastation. The children looked away, but Sintar continued. In their First World War, humans mobilized 70 million soldiers. 70 million. They turned entire nations into war machines. Every citizen contributed. Factories produced weapons day and night. Scientists developed new ways to kill. Doctors learned to save wounded soldiers so they could fight again. It lasted 4 years and killed 17 million people. A child made a sound of distress. Then, 20 years later, they had a Second World War. Even bigger. Even worse. Over 100 million soldiers. 60 million dead, including civilians. They developed weapons so terrible that a single bomb could erase a city. They actually used these weapons. Twice. Then they looked at what they had done and were so horrified that most nations agreed never to use those weapons again. Did they stop fighting? Piplin asked hopefully. No. They just fought smaller wars instead. Hundreds of them. They never stopped fighting. But the wars taught them something valuable. They learned to cooperate on massive scales. They learned to coordinate millions of people toward a single goal. They learned to organize, to supply, to plan complex operations across entire planets. These skills, developed for war, made their peaceful achievements possible too. Sintar showed images of human cities, massive structures, millions of people living together, technology everywhere. Dr. Velmi's report contained one finding that changed everything. She discovered that humans are neurologically incapable of accepting subordinate status. Their brains produce stress chemicals when they feel powerless. Physical pain, actual suffering. This is not a choice. This is not culture. This is biology. Humans must feel like they have some control over their lives or they suffer. The keeper paused to let this sink in. Do you understand what this means? It means humans will never accept being junior members of anything. They will never follow orders without question. They will never submit to authority they do not respect. They must push boundaries. They must test limits. They must compete and strive and struggle. It is built into their bodies at the most basic level. The children were silent, processing this terrible information. The Federation Council spent 3 months debating what to do. Some species wanted to quarantine Earth, block humans from leaving their solar system. Others wanted military action, destroy humanity before they became unstoppable. A few species, mostly the warrior races who understood combat, suggested accepting humans as equals. They argued that humans would make excellent allies and terrible enemies. Sintar's skin turned dark purple, the color of shame. While the council debated in secret sessions, they made a critical error. They assumed their communications were secure. They assumed no one could access their quantum-encrypted channels. They assumed they had time to make a careful decision. The image above the children changed to show a human male sitting in a chair, smiling at a camera. This is engineer Kyle Carter. While the Federation Council debated humanity's fate, Kyle was sitting in their observation booth listening to every word. He had cracked their communication protocols in 6 weeks. He sat there for the entire 3-month debate, taking notes, recording everything. Several children gasped. When the council finally noticed him, Kyle waved. He was eating something humans call a sandwich. Very casual, very calm. He stood up and addressed the council. He thanked them for the interesting debate. He explained that humans had followed their discussions with great interest, and he informed them that humanity would be joining the Federation immediately, with full voting rights, equal status, and complete access to all Federation technology and resources. What did the Council do? A child asked. They agreed, Zintar said simply. What else could they do? Humans had demonstrated that they could not be contained. They could not be controlled. They could access any system, crack any code, overcome any barrier. The choice was simple. Accept humans as partners, or go to war with a species that had turned warfare into an art form over thousands of years. The Keeper's skin faded to gray again. Dr. Velmai ended her report with a warning. She wrote, Humans are apex predators who evolved empathy. This makes them the most dangerous species in the known galaxy. They have all the tools of predators: patience, determination, intelligence, strategic thinking, capacity for violence. But they also form emotional bonds with those they consider friends or family. Attack a human's ally, and they will respond with overwhelming force. But treat them fairly and they will die protecting you. Zintar looked at the children with tired eyes. The Federation had no choice. They voted to accept humans as full members. And everything changed. Tomorrow I will tell you how humans transformed the entire galaxy, how they made us safer, how they made us stronger, and how they became the protectors of peaceful species like us. But tonight, remember Dr. Velmai's warning. Humans are dangerous, but they choose who they are dangerous to. We are lucky they chose to be our friends. The children left slowly, their minds full of terrible images: war, weapons, predators,